Inside the lavish ballroom of the Alderwood Grand Hotel in Seattle, the music suddenly stopped and a sharp crack echoed, leaving 200 guests frozen in silence. Elaine Bennett, the image-obsessed mother, had just struck her eldest daughter, Olivia Bennett, across the face. A diamond earring flew off, spinning across the marble floor under the chandelier's glow, a bitter symbol of public humiliation. Whispers rippled, phones captured every second, and instantly, the scene was live-streamed. Olivia Bennett, 33, was Vice President of Development at Sterling Capital. She was living proof of resilience and independence, the woman who had bought a $2 million penthouse overlooking the city entirely on her own. Yet, to the Bennett family, none of her achievements were ever enough. To her mother, Elaine, and her father, Thomas, Olivia was nothing more than a shadow beside Lily, the sweet younger sister endlessly adored and spoiled. When Thomas stood before the crowd and announced that Olivia would be gifting her penthouse to Lily as a wedding present, it was like a dagger driven straight into her heart. Olivia's pride, her career, and her dignity were all pushed to the brink. In that moment, one question rang out: was blood truly more important than respect? This was the essence of unforgettable revenge stories. The ballroom trembled, the family fractured, and yet Olivia stood firm, her eyes blazing with fire. No one knew that this was only the beginning. Olivia Bennett was born and raised in what looked like a perfect family in Seattle. Her father, Thomas Bennett, was the proud chairman of Bennett Textiles, a long-standing textile company. Her mother, Elaine, was the picture of a powerful society woman, always orchestrating everything so she and her family appeared flawless in public. But perfection was only the outer shell. Inside, the Bennett family lived by an unwritten rule: family comes first. On the surface, it sounded noble, but for Olivia, after 33 years, it had come to mean one thing. She had to sacrifice, while Lily, her younger sister, always received the best of everything. Olivia was never like her sister. From childhood, she preferred spending hours in the library, burying herself in books on economics and business strategy instead of taking dance lessons or practicing piano to please their mother. As an adult, Olivia carved her own path, throwing herself into international deals, flying across Tokyo, Singapore, and London. The penthouse in the Pike Pine corridor was the crown jewel she had bought entirely through her own grit. Every morning, her ritual was simple yet grounding. Sipping freshly ground Guatemalan coffee from a white porcelain mug etched with the words "Sanctuary" as she stood on the glass balcony, watching the sunrise over the city's east side. Even after earning the role of vice president at Sterling Capital, Olivia never received recognition from her parents. At family dinners, Elaine's proud gaze always landed on Lily, the darling daughter with bouncing curls and a sweet smile. "Look at Lily," Elaine would beam. "She just received a commendation from the Children's Hospital Volunteer Program." Thomas would add, "She'll make a perfect wife, someone who knows how to take care of family." "Not like you, Olivia. You only think about work." Olivia responded with her trademark faint smile, hiding her rebuttal behind a steely gaze. One evening, in the marble-floored living room with its roaring fireplace, Elaine turned to her eldest daughter and dropped words like a command. "Olivia, this family has given you everything. You must remember, family comes first. When Lily needs something, you should be ready to sacrifice." Olivia calmly set her wineglass on the walnut table and replied, "I've never forgotten that, Mother. But I've also never forgotten that everything I have came from my own hands." The air thickened. Lily, ever the peacemaker, chimed in sweetly. "Come on, sis, Mom only cares about family. You know Ben and I have so much to prepare for the wedding." The gentle remark was really a reminder. Olivia was expected to stay in the shadows, silently supporting. Olivia's nature was a blend of calm and resolve. At work, she was razor sharp, carrying a thick black leather notebook everywhere, recording every meeting, every breakthrough idea. On her penthouse desk stood a small photo frame capturing a Singapore sunset, the memento of her first multi-million-dollar deal. It was her triumph, though never once mentioned at the Bennett dinner table. In contrast, Lily appeared in every family story. When Olivia wired $50,000 to support the wedding, Elaine brushed past it. But when Lily sent a photo of herself in a wedding gown fitting, the entire family gushed with admiration. Olivia, you could learn to be more feminine from your sister, Elaine said bluntly at a private club luncheon. Olivia only nodded, her eyes calm but distant. Yet beneath the surface, a storm had been building for years. Her penthouse, the sanctuary, was her one true refuge. Floor-to-ceiling glass walls, city lights reflected across walnut floors, all of it a daily reminder that freedom was worth more than shallow approval. What Olivia didn't realize was that her sanctuary was about to become the centerpiece of a meticulously planned scheme. One evening before the wedding, Olivia stopped by her parents' house to discuss seating arrangements. As she walked past the study, she froze. Inside, Thomas whispered, "After the toast, I'll announce the penthouse. Olivia won't dare object in front of everyone." Elaine chuckled. "She'll have no choice. Who would want to ruin their sister's wedding?" Olivia stood in the hallway, her grip tightening around her leather notebook, heart pounding. Those words sliced through the already heavy air like a blade. And in that moment, she knew something was wrong. Something was waiting for her on the day her family believed would be perfect. No one realized that wedding would turn into a public battleground. Lily Bennett's wedding unfolded in the gilded ballroom of the Alderwood Grand Hotel. The soft chime of a spoon against a champagne glass echoed, calling everyone to silence. Thomas Bennett rose to his feet, straightening his tie, his face glowing as if about to announce a great triumph. At table 8, Olivia swirled the last of her red wine, eyes fixed on her father. She had no idea that in seconds, her world would be upended. "Ladies and gentlemen," Thomas began, his voice booming through the microphone, "today is a momentous day for our family, and to show our love, we are thrilled to announce that our eldest daughter, Olivia, will be gifting her penthouse in downtown Seattle to Lily and Ben as their wedding present." Thunderous applause filled the ballroom. Guests turned toward Olivia, their faces alight with admiration and envy. Olivia froze. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. Her heart pounded, her breath caught. The wine glass trembled in her hand, crimson rippling against the rim. "What are you talking about?" Olivia shot up, her voice ringing clear even without a mic. A heavy silence fell over the room. Elaine swiftly joined Thomas on stage, snatching the microphone. She smiled, but her eyes gleamed with calculation. "It's true, darling. This is the most meaningful gift you could ever give your sister. Family always comes first." Olivia trembled, not from fear but from 33 years of buried rage. She inhaled sharply, then declared, "No, that is my property, and I never agreed to this." Gasps erupted. One guest muttered, "How selfish." Another whispered, "Who refuses a gift for her sister on her wedding day?" Judgment spread like wildfire, as if Olivia had committed a crime. Elaine's patience snapped. She stormed off the stage, standing nose to nose with her daughter. "Olivia, you will not embarrass us in front of 200 people." Olivia clenched her fists, every muscle tight. "If you want to give a gift, buy it with your own money. Don't take mine." The crowd rippled with shock. Phone cameras flashed. Even the band set down their instruments to watch. Elaine's eyes narrowed, her lips quivering with fury. And then, without warning, she slapped her daughter so hard Olivia staggered. The crack resounded through the ballroom. A diamond earring flew loose, spinning across the polished marble floor. Guests gasped, some crying out in disbelief. Olivia didn't flinch. Her cheek burned, but her eyes blazed. No tears fell. She stooped gracefully, retrieved the earring and clipped it back in place with quiet defiance. A buzz from her clutch cut through the silence. Olivia glanced down at her phone. A message flashed across the screen. "Evidence. Message, 7:12 p.m. Watching the live stream. Everything's being recorded. Just give the signal." Her fingers shook slightly, but her heartbeat steadied. Evan Park, CEO of Sterling Capital, holder of 40% of Bennett Textiles, had seen it all. Elaine wasn't finished. She seized the mic again, her voice shrill. "Everyone, you are witnesses. My daughter is ungrateful, blind to family values. Lily deserves this happiness." Scattered applause mixed with uneasy whispers. Olivia raised her chin, her voice unwavering. "The penthouse is mine. It will not belong to anyone else." The air grew thick, pressing down on every corner of the room. Judging eyes bore into her, cruel whispers stung, and tension clamped tight around the silence. Olivia understood with icy clarity. This moment was not just a public slap, it was the opening act of a storm about to break. She held her ground, but worse was coming. The ballroom of the Alderwood Grand Hotel, once meant for music and laughter, now carried the weight of a storm before it breaks at sea. After Elaine Bennett's slap, nothing ended. It had only just begun. A string of smaller events piled up one after another, pushing Olivia Bennett further into isolation, making her feel like she was being judged in a public trial with hundreds of witnesses. When Olivia firmly declared that the penthouse was hers and would never belong to anyone else, Aunt Patricia, the nosy cousin who always sided with Elaine, shot to her feet. Her voice rang like a bell. "Olivia, what are you doing? This is Lily's big day. Do you really want to ruin it?" Almost instantly, a chorus of whispers of agreement rippled through the room. Olivia stood still, her hands trembling slightly, but her eyes sharp as steel. Her voice stayed calm but cold. "I'm not ruining anything. I'm simply refusing something I never agreed to." Her words, however, landed flat. Cousin Derek scoffed loudly enough for everyone to hear. "She always thinks she's smarter than the rest of us, but in the end, she doesn't know the meaning of sacrifice. Cold-hearted, just like always." The stares toward Olivia no longer carried curiosity. They brimmed with judgment. A few guests shook their heads, some sighed in disappointment. In an instant, Olivia realized the entire ballroom saw her as selfish. Elaine pressed her lips together, satisfaction glowing across her face as her daughter was judged by her own kin. Then a sharp phone alert broke the room from table 6, pulling Olivia's attention. She spotted Brian, the groom's younger brother, fumbling with his phone, but it was too late. Notifications were flashing across screens. The wedding was live streaming, and viewers were climbing by the second. Olivia's heart hammered as she pulled out her phone. Across the screen, a headline sent chills down her spine. Entitled Parents Force Daughter to Give Up Her $2 Penthouse at Wedding. The viewer count surged into the tens of thousands. She clenched her jaw, realizing her image and sterling capitals was being paraded as scandalous entertainment. Evidence. Screenshot 7:25 p.m. Livestream viewer count 12.4K. Caption, "Can you believe this? A bride's family forcing her sister to hand over a $2 penthouse." Nearby, a guest whispered just loud enough, "If Thomas's company gets tied to this, they'll lose every client." Another added, "But isn't she, Olivia, a vice president at Sterling Capital? This will ruin her reputation too." Olivia kept her face composed, but shame churned inside her. Now she wasn't only being condemned in the ballroom, she had become a laughingstock for thousands outside. Elaine noticed the screens glowing with the stream, but instead of fear, she smiled. In her mind, the more people saw this, the heavier the pressure, and Olivia would have no choice but to yield. Amid the chaos, Thomas's phone buzzed, his face drained pale, his hand shaking. He leaned toward Elaine, whispering, "Patterson Industries says we need to revisit the contract. They saw the live stream." Elaine frowned, then quickly masked it with her usual arrogance. Unexpectedly, Margaret, the groom's mother, stepped forward, her voice cut sharply through the tense air. "My family cannot accept this kind of behavior. If this is how you treat your own daughter, I truly fear for Ben." Lily burst into tears, makeup running down her cheeks. She spun toward Olivia as if all of the chaos was her sister's fault. Ben squeezed Lily's hand tightly, glaring at Olivia. "Couldn't you stay quiet for just one day?" Olivia swallowed hard, desperate to tell the truth, that her parents had staged the ambush, that she was only defending her own property. But the ballroom pressed in, judgment raining down, cruel stares silencing her voice. The wedding atmosphere shattered. Some guests left in disgust. Those who stayed whispered, nearly all condemning Olivia. They called her the ungrateful sister, the heartless businesswoman. She had become the villain in her own story. Elaine watched from the sidelines, her eyes glinting with triumphant delight. Deep down, she knew the tide had turned her way. 3 crises piled on top of each other, forming a tightening noose around Olivia. The wave of family pressure, the ruthless force of social media, and the blow from clients and in-laws had turned her into the lone figure in the storm. Every success she had built over 10 years vanished in silence. In their eyes, she was nothing but the cruel sister, the antagonist in their narrative. Yet Olivia remained standing, her hand gripping her wine glass to steady herself. She knew she was losing ground, being pushed back, step by step. But her eyes still burned bright, because deep down, Olivia knew this was not the final blow. Elaine Bennett stepped forward, microphone in hand, her face a twisted mix of rage and smug satisfaction. She turned toward the crowd, her voice sharp with venom. "Everyone, bear witness. This is the daughter who values money over blood." Then she tilted her head, locking her eyes on Olivia with a dangerous glint. It was clear Elaine wasn't stopping at a slap. She was about to unleash something far heavier, an overreach that would ignite the entire ballroom. The scattered claps that lingered after Elaine Bennett's slap quickly dissolved, replaced by murmurs, scraping chairs, and heavy sighs. Elaine clutched the microphone, her smile stiffening into steel. She had decided it was time to push her daughter into a corner where there was no way out. "Ladies and gentlemen," Elaine began, her tone dripping with drama like a seasoned actress. "My eldest daughter, Olivia, has everything. Wealth, a career, a lavish penthouse none of us have ever even stepped foot in. And yet today, when her sister needs her, she chooses to keep it all to herself." Nods filled the room, and mutters of agreement began to stir. Olivia clenched her jaw, though her heart raced wildly inside. Her mother hadn't just humiliated her with a slap. She was dragging her reputation through the mud in front of every guest and tens of thousands watching online. As Elaine continued her bitter speech, Olivia caught the exchanged glance between her parents. From the head table, Thomas leaned over, muttering, "We need to protect the company's image. If Olivia won't yield, then at least let everyone believe she's the ungrateful one, while Lily stays the victim." Elaine nodded, raising her voice, hammering words like selfish and ungrateful so each syllable stung. It hit Olivia like a second betrayal. This wasn't a spontaneous outburst, it was a premeditated play. Her father wanted a beautiful story to parade in business circles. Her mother wanted to crush the daughter who never bowed her head. And Lily, the centerpiece, only needed to smile sweetly in her white gown, ready to claim a prize that was never hers. Olivia felt the sting of betrayal burn deeper. Everything she had sacrificed for her family. The $50,000 transfer, the media connections to get the wedding featured, weeks spent juggling hotels and caterers, erased in an instant, replaced with a staged narrative that painted her as heartless. Elaine descended the stage, microphone still hot, and walked right up to her daughter. "Olivia," she cooed, her voice syrupy sweet, "if you have even a shred of love, hand the keys to your sister right now. Do this, and you'll save the family's honor." Olivia heard the whispers, saw the faces waiting for her to fold. It was like standing alone in a courtroom. Her mother the judge, her father the prosecutor, the entire ballroom the jury. Everyone wanted a guilty verdict. For a split second, Olivia thought if she surrendered the keys, maybe it would all end. But then fury surged up. No, this wasn't just a penthouse. It was the symbol of 10 years of blood and sweat. If she gave it up, she would forever be the family's scapegoat. "No," Olivia said, her voice flat, her eyes like ice. Chaos erupted. A guest shouted, "She has no shame," another barked, "I've never seen anyone so cruel." The ballroom seemed to explode in noise. Elaine spun toward the crowd, triumph in her voice. "Do you all see now? She has never put family first." Her clutch buzzed again. Olivia discreetly glanced down and saw a new email, the subject line flashing from Sterling Capital's secure server. Clause 15.3, immediate relevance. The body read in stark black and white. Evidence? Email, 7:42 p.m. The Penthouse agreement includes Clause 15.3. If there are signs of coercion to transfer ownership, Sterling Capital has the right to intervene and protect the asset. Legal debt. Olivia's eyes lit up. She remembered when Evan Park had insisted on adding that clause when she purchased the Penthouse. She'd laughed at the time, thinking her family would never be foolish enough to try such a thing. But Evan had been right. He knew the greatest threats sometimes came not from outsiders but from those bound by blood. Just then, Margaret, the groom's mother, stepped forward. Her voice rang cold and sharp. "I have never seen a family turn a wedding into such a battlefield. If this is how you treat your own daughter, I must reconsider letting Ben marry Lily." Olivia's breath caught. Those words could have been her chance to reclaim ground. But Elaine snatched the moment away, her voice rising fast. "You misunderstand. The fault is Olivia's. We gave her everything, yet she is selfish. Look at Lily. So pure, so deserving, still waiting for her sister's love." The crowd gasped, A few clapped in agreement. Olivia realized even this fleeting opportunity had been smothered by her mother's grip. Wave after wave crashed down. Olivia looked around and saw every gaze leaning toward Elaine. Online, the live stream count had soared past 30,000. A guest lifted their phone, aiming it straight at Olivia's face, sneering, "Successful but ungrateful. That's the headline." Olivia stood frozen, her hand clutching the diamond earring she had just clipped back in, her throat tight. In everyone's eyes, she had already lost. Her parents had painted her as the villain, her sister as the victim. The narrative was airtight. Olivia had been written out of her own story. Defeat coursed through her veins. Yet when her eyes flicked back to the phone in her hand, the words in that email shone like a beacon through the darkness. Clause 15.3. Olivia inhaled deeply, fury cooling into focus. In her mind, the puzzle began to shift into place. The Bennett family's sacred rule, family comes first, was nothing but a trap. Clause 15.3 was the real key. If they wanted to turn her into a public sacrifice, she would use the laws of business to fight back. In that instant, Olivia stopped thinking only of defense. She began to think of revenge, a plan sharp and deliberate rooted in the very claws Evan had left like a hidden shield. And this was only the midpoint of her story. The true reckoning had yet to come. The Alderwood Grand Hotel ballroom still buzzed with chaos after the slap and public humiliation. Guests whispered relentlessly. Phones vibrated with notifications as the live stream spread further. Olivia Bennett sat back down on her chair draped in white linen, but her mind was no longer reeling. The humiliation had cornered her, and from that corner, a plan began to sharpen. Cold, precise, like a blade forged in steel. Olivia pulled out her phone, opening her secure app. Her fingers moved swiftly, downloading the full recording of the live stream before it could be deleted. The footage of Elaine striking her, Thomas declaring the forced gift, every second was preserved. She messaged her assistant at Sterling Capital. "I need all footage and clear shots of my parents within 15 minutes. The reply came instantly. "Compiling now, sending via encrypted channel." She left nothing to chance. The photographer's high-resolution shots, Brian's phone stream, even the murmurs of shocked guests, all could become bricks in the wall she was building against Elaine and Thomas. When she touched the earring she had retrieved from the marble floor, Olivia allowed herself a faint smile. The first piece of evidence wasn't just video or photos, it was the mark still burning on her cheek, living proof of public assault. Olivia knew she couldn't fight alone. She needed an ally powerful enough to turn truth into a weapon. That ally was Evan Park, CEO of Sterling Capital. He was not only her boss, but also the man who held 40% of Bennett Textiles, the company Thomas loved to flaunt. She typed a brief message to Evan, "It's time." His reply came instantly, "On my way, legal team with me." 6 words, but they steadied her trembling spine. Evan's resources were invaluable. He knew Thomas's pride, knew how much Bennett Textiles leaned on Sterling's capital. More importantly, Evan had already prepared legal safeguards so Olivia could never be forced. Those tools Olivia had kept buried, reluctant to ever use them, but tonight, they were about to become her key. Olivia slipped the phone away, her gaze sharpened. Elaine might think she controlled the ballroom, but Olivia had forged an alliance far beyond family's reach. Still, for the plan to succeed, Olivia needed to take risks. She couldn't just wait for rescue. She had to stake her ground now before the crowd buried her entirely. She rose, took a microphone from a stunned guest, and spoke clearly. "The Penthouse is my legal property. I will not agree to give it away, and any attempt to coerce me is a violation of the law." The room fell still for a heartbeat, then erupted. Some guests clapped and scattered support, but most jeered. "She's threatening to sue her own family?" "How disgraceful," Elaine laughed bitterly, her voice dripping with mockery. "Do you plan to turn your sister's wedding into a courtroom? What will our guests think?" Olivia drew in a breath. She knew she was risking everything. If Evan didn't arrive in time, if the crowd sided fully with her parents, she would look even more ridiculous. But silence was deadlier. Better to take a risk than forever be cast as the villain. One declaration wasn't enough. She needed to shift the narrative. Plant seeds of doubt. Her eyes found Margaret, the groom's mother, who had already bristled at the Bennett's behavior. Olivia walked toward her, speaking loudly enough to carry. I'm sorry you had to witness this. But put yourself in my place. If tomorrow your son achieved great success, would you force him to give it away just to preserve someone else's pride? Margaret faltered, her face unsettled. The crowd's whispers shifted. A few people nodded thoughtfully. One guest muttered, "That's actually a fair point." That was what Olivia needed, not unanimous support, just cracks of doubt. When Evan walked in, those cracks could split wide open. But every plan carried risks. Olivia knew them all too well. Public opinion could spiral further, damaging her career. Evan might arrive late or lack the leverage to flip the room immediately. The Bennetts could summon their own lawyers, stall, and muddy the waters. Worst of all, Elaine and Thomas might unleash personal attacks, secrets, half-truths to smear Olivia as greedy in the eyes of the world. Still, Olivia had no choice. If she did nothing, she would forever be the ungrateful daughter, condemned by family and society alike. Risk was the price of reclaiming her dignity. She pieced her plan together in her mind like gears clicking into motion. Step 1. Collect every fragment of evidence. Step 2. Align with Evan and the Sterling legal team. Step 3. Gamble with a public declaration to hold ground. Step 4. Edge her parents into exposing themselves further, giving her and Evan the opening for a crushing counterstrike. Just as her mind sharpened, her phone buzzed again. Hope surged, perhaps Evan's arrival. But the screen showed something else, cutting like a blade. Breaking news. Local station confirms full rebroadcast of the wedding livestream during tonight's primetime. Olivia froze. This was no longer just a viral clip online. In a few hours, hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions, would see the slap, the accusations, the humiliation. They would watch her stand alone against her entire family. Her palm dampened around the microphone. The revenge plan was set, her ally was on the way, but this twist could push everything beyond her control. Olivia realized the game had escalated to a higher level, where one misstep could destroy everything. The ballroom roared on, but inside Olivia, a steely calm settled. The storm had shifted course, and she would have to fight harder than ever to steer it. The ballroom of the Alderwood Grand Hotel remained thick with whispers and the glare of countless phone cameras. Olivia Bennett knew this was the moment to execute her plan. Every step she had prepared, evidence, allies, her own resolve, had to be deployed here on the battlefield. She lifted her phone high, its screen glowing bright, her voice carrying through the microphone. Everyone, you can see yourselves in this live stream. This is no longer just a family matter. The footage played, the crack of Elaine's hand across her face, Thomas's arrogant declaration of the gift, Lily's staged sobs, all crystal clear. The crowd murmured, and a few guests flushed with embarrassment as they recognized their own applause for those actions. One guest stammered, I didn't realize we were being recorded." Uneasy glances spread across the ballroom like wildfire. Olivia lowered her phone, her gaze sharp. The evidence was no longer her shield alone. It had become a sword to redirect public opinion. Just then, the ballroom doors swung open. Evan Park strode in, his charcoal suit impeccable, two lawyers trailing him with leather briefcases. The room erupted in a storm of recognition. Many knew him at once, CEO of Sterling Capital, a regular face in Forbes. Thomas went pale, leaping from his chair. "Evan, what are you doing here?" Evan didn't answer immediately. He walked straight to the head table, laying a thick file in front of Thomas. His voice carried without the aid of a microphone, every word ringing, "I'm here to protect my company's assets. And to make one thing clear to all of you, Olivia Bennett is not just your daughter, she is vice president of Sterling Capital." Gasps rolled across the room. Margaret, the groom's mother, exhaled sharply. Scattered applause broke out. Elaine forced a smile, but her hands trembled. Olivia stepped forward, standing at Evan's side. Her voice rang clear. "My Penthouse is part of my executive compensation package, and under contract, any act of coercion violates the law." One of the lawyers opened a briefcase, placing a printed agreement on the table, highlighting a key clause. Evan added firmly, "This is proof. Clause 15.3 has been activated. Sterling Capital has the right to intervene immediately." Evidence, legal document 7:58 p.m., photocopy of Clause 15.3 with Thomas Bennett's signature, authorizing corporate intervention in the event of coercion. The whispers shifted to astonishment. A few business-minded guests nodded, muttering, I didn't realize Olivia was such a key executive. Momentum was turning in her favor. Evan turned to Thomas, his voice like a gavel striking. Thomas Bennett, you publicly tried to coerce your daughter. That is unacceptable in any enterprise, and under the shareholder agreement, what happened here today constitutes conduct unbecoming of leadership. Thomas stammered. No, this is just family business. Evan cut him off. When you allow tens of thousands to watch via livestream, it stops being family business. It becomes a public issue, and I am obligated to protect both my investment and my executive. Elaine shrieked. You have no right to interfere. This is my home, my daughter. Evan's reply was icy. Wrong. This is business. I am the second largest shareholder of Bennett Textiles. I will not let a greedy family destroy my investment. The room went silent. Guests began recording again, certain these words would spread within minutes. Evan pulled another document from the file, slamming it onto the table. Thomas, you have 48 hours. Either you and your wife publicly apologize to Olivia and admit fault, or I will convene the board. With my 40%, I only need Jensen Trust's votes to remove you. Thomas collapsed into his chair, face ashen. Elaine froze, her eyes wide with disbelief as the tide turned. Olivia inhaled, for the first time all evening, feeling less alone. Just as she thought control was hers, a voice cleared from the corner. Brian, the groom's younger brother, lifted his phone, his voice shaky but loud. I'm sorry, but I deleted the original live stream. It's gone. Without it, maybe all this is just hearsay. The room erupted again. Some nodded. He's right, without the original file, the evidence is weak. Margaret frowned, her gaze turning doubtful. Elaine's face lit with malicious joy. See? You have nothing. Just lies and theatrics. Olivia felt the floor tilt beneath her. Everything she had built, her painstaking evidence, suddenly seemed fragile. Without the original file, would copies hold up legally? Whispers stabbed at her. Maybe she faked it. What if it's doctored? Her pulse raced, but she steadied herself. Olivia tapped her phone, opening the secure folder her assistant had just uploaded. Her lips curved into a cold smile. She raised the phone. The original isn't necessary. I have multiple copies from multiple sources, all showing the same truth. One by one, she played short clips, each from a different angle, captured by different guests. Each showed Elaine's slap, Thomas's declaration. The videos were mirrored on the ballroom projector, magnifying every detail. Gasps filled the room again. It's hard to deny 10 different camera angles, isn't it, Mother? Olivia said, her voice cutting. Elaine stood frozen, lips moving soundlessly. Within an hour, Olivia had executed all 4 stages: collect, align, gamble, and edge. A setback that nearly shattered her case had been overturned by meticulous preparation. No longer a humiliated victim, she stood as the strategist turning the narrative on its head. Evan gave her a nod of approval, his eyes gleaming. But Olivia knew the war wasn't won yet. Elaine's pride hadn't been broken. Thomas still held financial secrets, and Lily's tears continued to paint her as a victim. Olivia tightened her grip on the microphone, her gaze sweeping over a room suspended between fear and awe. A cold thought pierced her mind. She still had one final move left. Everything so far had only been prelude. The ballroom stilled, every guest waiting for her next word. Olivia drew in a deep breath, a faint smile touching her lips. She had one last move. The atmosphere in the Alderwood Grand Hotel ballroom had settled, but not into peace. It was a dense tension, every breath a witness to what came next. Olivia Bennett stood center stage, microphone in hand, flanked by Evan Park and 2 lawyers. Before them sat Thomas and Elaine Bennett, faces stricken, eyes darting like trapped animals. This was no longer a wedding, it was an arena of truth. Olivia drew a steady breath. You've all seen what happened. But so no one can accuse me of exaggeration, let me present the evidence. She lifted her phone, connecting it to the projector. First, the text message flashed across the screen. Watching the live stream. Everything's recorded. Just say the word. Evan. Evidence number 1. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Olivia continued. From the very beginning, my mother's actions were documented, not only by human eyes, but by technology itself. Next, a screenshot of the livestream appeared, the viewer count spiking to over 12,000 within minutes. Evidence number 2. Faces in the audience reddened as they recognized themselves cheering in the footage. It wasn't one person recording, Olivia said firmly. Dozens captured it, and now hundreds of thousands have seen it. Then came the email from Sterling Capital's legal department. The Penthouse contract includes Clause 15.3. If there are signs of coercion, Sterling Capital has the right to intervene. Evidence Mur 3. The murmurs swelled louder, guests nodding gravely. Finally, Evan's lawyer opened a folder, laying down a photocopy of Clause 15.3 alongside the shareholder agreement containing the hidden morality clause, evidence number 4. This was the secret ace, twin clauses safeguarding both Olivia's property and the company's integrity. Olivia turned her gaze directly to her parents. You thought forcing me in front of a crowd would break me. But the clause you signed, Father, has become the key. Clause 15.3 protects my penthouse from coercion, and the morality clause allows the board to remove leaders guilty of violence, coercion, or damaging the company's reputation. Both of those happened here tonight, in front of 200 witnesses and tens of thousands online. Evan stepped forward, his voice ringing like steel. Thomas Bennett, you have 48 hours to issue a public apology to your daughter and make amends. If you don't, I'll convene the board. With my 40% and Jensen Trust's 15, you know you no longer hold majority. I will replace you. Thomas's face drained of color. He collapsed back into his chair. Elaine lashed out, shrill and desperate. This is a conspiracy. Evan, you're colluding with her to steal our company. But the room no longer believed her. A guest shouted, we all saw you slap her. No one can fake that. Margaret, the groom's mother, rose with icy composure. My family will not tie itself to this chaos. The wedding ends here. Lily broke down sobbing, but no one rushed to console her. Brian lowered his phone, shame etched across his face. The hammer of consequences fell swiftly. The wedding shattered on the spot. Guests stood, filing out with words of disgust. What a disgrace. We came for a wedding, not this humiliation. Thomas's phone buzzed nonstop. He checked it, groaned aloud. Patterson contract canceled. Kim Electronics just pulled out. Another notification glowed. I don't do business with men who strike their children. Contract terminated. Sarah Williams, Williams Logistics. Multi-million-dollar deals vanished in minutes. Elaine clutched at air, screeching, Olivia, you're destroying this family. You'll regret it. But Olivia didn't need to raise her voice. She stepped closer to the microphone, calm and steady. Family isn't a place to strip away what I've built through 10 years of work. Family doesn't mean bowing my head to abuse. From tonight forward, I will never let any of you decide my life again. Applause thundered across the ballroom. This time, not for a bride or a toast, but for justice served. Elaine staggered, nearly collapsing. Thomas sat hollow-eyed in defeat. Lily wept uncontrollably, no longer the pampered princess, but a bride left in ruins on her wedding day. By midnight, local news outlets blared the headlines. Sterling Capital CEO intervenes, saves VP from forced public humiliation at wedding. The clips went viral across platforms. Olivia transformed from the ungrateful daughter into a symbol of self-respect and resistance against family abuse. Thomas's grip over his shareholders crumbled. Elaine's reputation in the community was scorched. Lily's marriage evaporated at the altar. All undone in the span of hours, exactly as Olivia had envisioned when she launched her counterstrike. She stood in the half-empty ballroom, chandeliers casting her shadow long across the marble floor. She had won. Justice had been delivered. Yet in the quiet beneath the applause, Olivia knew this wasn't the end. When an empire falls, the defeated always try to claw their way back. To protect what she had built, Olivia understood there was still one final step to take. She smiled faintly, lowering the microphone to the table. One last move. News of the failed wedding spread across Seattle overnight. The press called it the slap heard not only in the Alderwood Grand Hotel ballroom, but across the entire Puget Sound business community. For Elaine Bennett, the real consequences began after the lights dimmed. Once celebrated as a model mother in elite circles, she quickly found herself ostracized. Tea parties and charity galas, events where she once proudly paraded her younger daughter, fell into silence. No one wanted their name tied to a woman who had publicly struck her child. In the eyes of society, Elaine became the villain, stripped of her power to control the narrative. Thomas Bennett fared no better. After losing 3 major contracts in a row, Bennett Textiles was forced to downsize. Shareholders applied unrelenting pressure, and within weeks, his role as chairman was temporarily reassigned. The man who once envisioned passing down a proud legacy now faced a harsher truth. His own actions had destabilized the company he hoped to leave behind. Lily Bennett, the would-be bride, endured her own collapse. The marriage unraveled within days of the disastrous ceremony. The groom's family demanded she enter therapy to break free from her parents' toxic influence. The image of a perfect princess shattered, replaced by that of a young woman forced into an abrupt and painful maturity. Meanwhile, Olivia stepped into a new life. She returned to her Lakeview penthouse, its towering windows overlooking the Seattle skyline, no longer a fortress of defense, but a sanctuary of freedom. She accepted the role of Senior VP of Global Operations at Sterling Capital. Though busier than ever, she carried a lightness she had never known, freed from the crushing weight of her family's control. The faintest glimmer of redemption came from Thomas. Reeling from loss, he began therapy, admitting for the first time that pride and ambition had blinded him to fatherhood. Olivia wasn't sure forgiveness was possible, but at least it showed that redemption had not yet slipped entirely beyond reach. Family is respect, not leverage. A real family must be built on respect, not turned into a tool to impose control or steal the fruits of someone else's labor. Olivia Bennett's story reminds us that personal boundaries are what protect our dignity and worth, even when we're forced to defend them against our own blood. But what about you? If family or relatives tried to use love as an excuse to coerce you, would you stay silent and endure, or would you stand up and protect yourself? Do you think Olivia was too unyielding, or was it the only choice she had to preserve her self-respect? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective. If you found this story moving and thought-provoking, don't forget to like and share this video so others can take away the same lessons. And of course, subscribe to True Revenge Stories so you can hear more tales of clever, gripping, and deeply human revenge every single day. Want to dive into more moments of justice served? Just as satisfying as this one? Head over to our Revenge Stories playlist, a collection of intense showdowns, unexpected strategies, and endings that will make you nod in agreement. Which story will you watch next after Olivia's?